All right, guys, what's happening? What's happening? What's happening is Andre with AndreReese.Biz. All right, guys, I'm out here for a quick little cycle cast. I'm trying to get it in real fast. A brother is running out of time. You know, it's 8 o'clock right now. I think the sun officially goes down at 8:15, and it's usually pretty dark by about 8:50 or so. So I'm just trying to get this cycle cast in real quick and be able to make it happen. So let me just go ahead and jump into it real quick and let you guys know what today's topics are. I'm gonna discuss with you real quick 4 items. I'm gonna talk to you guys about, I finally got monetized on YouTube, man. Talk to you guys real quick about my journey, and there's a couple levels of monetization. I'm gonna tell you about the first level I just hit. Very proud of that. I'm also gonna talk about, with Spirit Airlines, all the planes, when everything was done and finished, they were left at the gates and there were different parts of the US. So somebody had to actually go and repo those planes. I'm gonna talk to you guys about that and the ferry service. I'm also gonna talk to you guys about the final outcome out here in Richmond, Virginia for the redistricting referendum that took place. That was finalized, some closing thoughts on that. And then last thing I'll discuss with you guys is sensitive subject, Dr. Cheyenne Bryan. So there we go, we got 4 things up on the docket for today. And let me just go ahead and hit the B-roll real quick. So I'm enjoying myself out here this evening. And you know, I wanted to try to get one last ride in. We're headed out of town tomorrow morning, bright and early. A brother's got to leave at 4:15 for a 6 a.m. flight. So headed to parts unknown. I'll let you guys know as everything unfolds, but I won't be back until late Thursday evening. So I want to go ahead and get this ride in, because I don't think I'm going to be able to do anything once I get to my destination. I got a really, really tight time capsule of time I've got to try to, you know, get through. So yeah, looking forward to this. Like I said in a previous video, this kicks off our summer travel season, and we've got a whole year full of fantastic, incredible things that are going to be coming up. So you know, definitely looking forward to that, you know, so for sure. And like I said, today was really like the first time that I've experienced it being really, really hot out here in Virginia this year. We were gone for a minute while things were hot earlier. We had kind of like a fake summer. We had bugged out a little bit. I think maybe it was down in the 80s or something. Today it got up to 92, 94, and with feels like I think 96 or 98, something like that. So it's definitely a hot day for sure. And where we're headed to, it's going to be mostly in the 70s. So it'll be kind of like a small reprieve in a way, if you want to kind of look at it amongst that. So yeah, that's it, guys. That's about the B-roll for the day. Let's go ahead and jump into these topics and get started chopping away at them while the sun is still up and you can still see me. So today's first topic we're going to discuss is brother finally got monetized. Can you believe it? You know, so I'll tell you, the way YouTube works is that whenever you're watching YouTube and you get before a video starts or during it, there's points where see what's going on here. There's points during those videos where they kind of break away for a commercial interruption. You know, the creator, how you doing, man? The creator that makes the content, they get an ad sharing percentage. I'm not sure what it is with YouTube. So they make the content, and then when they run the ads that are marketed for the customer, then you get a piece of that revenue. And so some people can make hundreds of thousands of dollars, if not millions of dollars a month on the high end when you get a lot of subscribers and all that. So one of the things I've set as a goal over like the last year is to go out of my way to get monetized. And I've had my YouTube channel for a long time. And I've made different videos and stuff along the way. Some of them I've got really good traction on. I think the biggest video I have right now has got like 60,000 plus views on it, or somewhere close to that neighborhood. It's a video about charging up a Tesla on 110. It's still going strong even now. And I've got probably easily, I think I probably uploaded close to 200 videos, you know, maybe 150-ish, somewhere in that range. I didn't necessarily check. And I've gotten at least 30 to 40 videos that have at least 1,000 views on them, you know. And so they go down from 60 all the way down to, I've even got some that have got 2 or 3 views on them. So what I've done is, over the last year, I said, you know what, I'm gonna make it a point to push content regularly to YouTube. And part of me doing these cyclecast and long form content, and like I said, I try to keep it about an hour or so, right at an hour. You know, I watch, a lot of people these days don't have the attention span, and they need short hits and hits of videos, you know, but I watch a lot of long form content on TikTok. I actually prefer it on TikTok. That way I can put the phone down and listen while I'm doing something, and I don't necessarily, especially if it's just a talking head, I don't have to see, you know, the picture and stuff like that. I like getting information. I like being educated about stuff, you know, so I really enjoy the long form content. And so I've got some videos that are really short. And what I found is, when I make a long form video like this, you know, I might only get like 15, 20, 30 people that watch it, but those people will spend like 20 minutes on watching a video. So that pulls down, I mean, that is way more than having, you know, 1,000 views on a video and people only watching for like a minute and a half. I'm after the numbers. And so let me explain it real quick. So with YouTube right now, there's 2 different ways that you can get monetized. The full version of monetization is you have to have at least 1,000 subscribers, subs on your account. You have to have 4,000 watch hours in 1 year, you know, 1 year period of time. So every 28 days, that's a measurement period for YouTube, and it actually works out to 13 periods a year. And so you figure each one of those months, if you took 13 divided into 4,000, you have to at least have that many watch hours a month in order to at least be on track. And so a lot of people can easily blow up and get a lot of subscribers, but they may not have the watch hours, you know, built in. So those are 2 unique hurdles that you have to kind of deal with. And so right now, currently, I have 741 subscribers, and I have I've got 3,100 watch hours at this point right now. And so you're like, okay, that doesn't work. The math doesn't work there. 4,000 and then 1,000 subs. Yeah, but they have another tier that they started. And so if you have the full monetization, you're gonna have 4,000 and 1,000. So then they have a sub tier of monetization that you have to have at least 500 subs. You gotta have 3,000 watch hours. You know, so like I said, I just hit the watch hour mark of having, you know, 3,100 watch hours and 741-ish subscribers. Awesome. And so now that unlocks the ability for me to create membership programs where, or sell products, you know, which is great and wonderful and fantastic. And so I can start doing that now to get, you know, part of the monetization journey going. But the most importantly is now there's an option for me to get super thanks on a video. So if somebody's watching one of my videos and they really, really like it and they want to support, you know, they can choose the super thanks option. And I think the amount you can do is anywhere between $2 and $500 on a super thanks. So that's incredible. That's really, really cool. I'm really happy about that. So now, if you feel like at this point I haven't received any super thanks, if you want to be the first, you know, go ahead and go down to this video on YouTube and go to the little 3 dots to the side and hit the super thanks, and, you know, send a brother a couple dollars, and I'll definitely, you know, shout out to you. And I think I'm going to utilize this in the future as I try to work it into my videos. So, you know, and then the other way that they have that's available is I'm able to now do live videos, and I can get super chats, you know. So I could, and we actually, this is perfect timing because we have something that we want to do in the future here, and not everybody's going to be able to see this, and a lot of people are going to want to do it. So I want to definitely go live at this particular event. And then if folks want to drop a brother a couple dollars, you know, they can definitely do that for sure, you know, with the super chats, you know. So yeah, so I can definitely do that with the super chats, which I'm looking forward to. So I can go live for a few hours at this event that's coming up, and right behind you. And I can go live at this event that's coming up, and turn around, and folks can send me super chats, you know, and thanks, you know. So like I said, I'm very, very happy and excited. And like I said, this all really just happened in the last year, really, like literally the last year. And so I think my subscribers, when I made a decision to go on this journey of being consistent and trying to put up videos as much as possible, and even doing something stupid like eating a brand new McDonald's burger or something like that, you know, that I would be able to start recording those things, you know, and make a quick video and throw it up. And you'd be surprised at how many people have supported watching these videos, leaving comments, and I've gotten a lot of subscribers off of these things, which is really, really cool. My brother's definitely happy about that. And, you know, and the other thing, like I said, I think I started out roughly around 400 subscribers when I started the journey originally. And now I'm at 740 in about a year. And I was averaging typically about 400 to 450 watch hours in a 1 year period. And so like I said, now I've pretty much, you know, 6x that. So yeah, and I'm gonna continue to do what I'm gonna do here with the content and keep it coming, you know. So whenever, and I've got a ton of stuff right now that is done and completed, but I have not put it up yet. So, you know, I got a lot of stuff to get caught up on. I got content for days, you know. So I've even got stuff from our Virgin cruise that we went on back in February. I haven't had a chance to put up. So yeah, so just keep an eye out. And if you guys are watching me on YouTube, you can always be the first person to do the super thanks. I definitely appreciate it. I think at one point what I may do is that if somebody does like $20 or $30 or something for super thanks, and they give me a series of topics, I might go ahead and just discuss those as a way, and give a shout out and a thank you for doing that type of stuff. So I definitely want to thank you guys for watching. And I'll tell you, as soon as I got monetized, I threw up a video the other day on Facebook, and I got, like, within several hours, I got like 1,300 views on it. And I was like, damn, I was like, baby, I've never gotten this many views in such a short period of time. She says, well, they know you're legitimate now. I said, I guess so. You know, so I definitely appreciate you guys watching my content on all platforms that you do. But most of the stuff I'm doing now is for YouTube, and I do cross-post it on Facebook as well as TikTok. So like I said, thank you again. If you guys aren't subscribed to me, please do so. And you can always hit the thumbs up and like the video. It always helps a brother out for sure. So let's go ahead and jump into the next topic. Man, this is something that's really crazy. There's a guy, I forget what his name is. Shoot, it escapes me. I've been watching him for years. And the next topic, just real quick, it's about ferrying service for airplanes and airplane repossession. So let's just back up a little bit. So we're all aware that Spirit Airlines, they went out of business, they went bankrupt. And you know, what typically happens is the planes take off, they do their route, they land at the airport, then they stop at the gate, and then the crew usually gets off, and then a whole nother crew gets on, and they turn around and take the plane to the next destination. And if it's one of those overnight situations, what ends up happening is the plane will sit at the gate. You know, it'll come in late at night, sit at the gate, then it's ready to go the next morning. So when all the planes for Spirit, when they had their final day, final hours, they all ended up at the gates. And these are, most of the airlines do not own their own planes. It's very rare. Most of them use leasing companies, and there's a number of different aviation companies that provide the hardware for airports, for I should say, for airlines to use. And they're long-term contracts, and they move equipment all over the world and repaint them and whatever else they need to do. And so when somebody like Spirit is going out of business, what ends up happening is those planes do not belong to the airlines, they belong to the companies. So the companies are, I think there was a recent, in the last few decades, I don't know what it is, there was a part of the Bankruptcy Act, or when airlines shut down, that the people that actually own the planes can get their planes back immediately. They don't have to wait for a procedure to happen and all that. And if you think about it, if the Spirit airline, if the pilot, you know, throws the keys on the dash and walks out, and the plane's got to stay there for weeks or potentially months at a gate, you know, and it belongs to somebody else, it's going to cause a lot of logistical problems within the airport. And so what happens is these ferry services, you know, or airline repo companies, they will actually, they're contracted with the owners of the planes, and they will actually go and pick up the equipment and bring it back. And so, and these guys, and I forget the name of it, the company's name is Nomadic. And I watch this one guy all the time. He is just a funny dude. And he goes all over the world and he repos planes. So, you know, if Turkish Airlines is having a problem, they're not making their payments, he will show up and get the plane and fly it back to the United States. And sometimes planes need to be relocated because they're being retrofitted, or, you know, they're going from passenger to maybe cargo, or cargo to passenger, or whatever. And there's only certain places in the world that do these types of retrofits. So they'll go and pick up the plane and they'll fly it to where it needs to go. And a ferry service is essentially non-passenger and non-cargo service is what it is, you know. And, you know, the whole business in and of itself is fascinating. So these guys, they're certified to fly a number of different planes, you know, different types. And they have a very wide reach of where they can go to be able to grab stuff. And so as this whole thing was coming down, you know, actually I was listening to, they were giving the final wind down of what happened over the last, you know, 6 months or so. On your left. in January through about now, I guess you say about 5 months or so, they have almost gone out of business a few times. Spirit. And what they do is they work with the airline companies that own, and they actually end up putting people in motion. So as soon as the company goes out of business, they've already got somebody at the gate there to repo the plane and take it. You know, so, and they've had 2 or 3 false starts during the year, but this last one, they knew for sure that it was gonna go down like it did. And so they had all types of, it was such a large and unexpected amount of planes at the time that they had to contract. They didn't have enough pilots. And so what they ended up doing was they ended up actually reaching out to some of the pilots that were actually flying the planes and saying, hey, we can hire you as a contractor to fly the plane back to Arizona. Because pretty much Arizona is where the graveyard is for planes and storage. And what they do there is, it's the environment is so hot and it's so dry. Watch out, man. Watch out, watch out, watch out. Yeah. It's so hot and dry there that corrosion doesn't happen on the planes. Pretty amazing, you know, so that's what they do. So that's what so if there's actually a number of different air spots, boneyards, graveyards, whatever you want to call them, resting facilities, storage facilities where they take and drop off the planes and they leave them there. And once they have a buyer or they have a new use for them, whatever it might be, they will turn around and, you know, repurpose the plane or send the plane out to where it needs to go and work on, you know, working with the new buyer or the new lessee as it comes to, you know, getting the plane repainted or retrofitted or whatever it might be, you know. So they had to actually coordinate with they said this is like one of their biggest operations that they've ever had to go through and do. And, you know, they made it happen. They ended up showing up at the gates, and as soon as the planes were there, they came on and took possession of them. Then they started the procedure of getting them back. And so it's a very difficult thing to deal with logistic-wise, because you got to figure they got a plane that shows up at the gate and it's empty. You know, there's no fuel, and so they have to contract in advance to have fuel. They got to contract in advance to have somebody push them back with a tug, all that stuff. You know, so it's a very complex operation, but it definitely does give you an insight on a side of a business where I love watching the guys. There's this one brother, he's the GOAT, and he did some time. He's very open about it, and he just will pull up, scoop you up, and he's gone. You know, so he is, this brother is hardcore. And there's a bunch of guys that repo cars. Just imagine, you know, pretty much anything that's not bolted down, there's probably a company that will come and repo it. There's guys that repo boats, there's guys that repo yachts, you know, and there's guys that repo small, medium, large planes. If the payments aren't being made, you know, the person that owns them outright wants them back. You know, so this is definitely a very interesting field to be involved in. And if you are ever at the point in your career where, you know, and imagine if you've been flying for a long time and you, it's very difficult, you know, to try to get a job, you know, and imagine if you can get a job with a ferry company, still get to fly, still keep your ratings and all that, and keep it moving. You know, so there's always a positive side and a negative side to any type of boom and bust. You know, so the idea is to be there initially as it starts to happen, ride the wave, and then figure out how to provide services on the exit. That way you can still, you know, ride things into as they go into the storm. So definitely, you know, I highly recommend, if you guys get a chance to, you know, check out this company, Nomadic. You know, definitely see their work and what they do. You can follow them on Instagram as well as, Facebook and TikTok and, all the social platforms. And you can definitely get an insight into what's going on. So like I said, these are the kind of things I love to pay attention to. And, excuse us, no, all good. These are things I love to pay attention to and I love to watch. So, all right, let's talk about the next topic. So the next topic, man, let's talk about the Virginia redistricting referendum. It's officially dead now. And so just to get you guys caught up real quick, I never knew coming out here to Richmond, Virginia, that we'd be the center of so much national news. And so we know what's going on right now. There's a battle for the House and the open Senate seats right now. Most of the battle is in the House for the midterms. And currently right now, the red team has a trifecta. So they control the House, they control the presidency, they also control the Senate. So they can pretty much, on most part, get what they want through. And what's the advantage of that? Well, the advantage of that is if you can, we're all familiar. Pretty much every president does, pretty much does executive orders. And so they can pen to paper and say, I want to do this program, do that program, provide this, provide that. But as soon as they're out of office, and especially if there's a team switchover, the new team coming in will immediately undo all those executive orders, and so then the new team will put in their orders, and the next one that comes up, they will, do the same thing. They'll reverse all their stuff too. So it's just part of the game. That's how politics works. So how do you make something permanent? Well, you got to be able to have it go through Congress, go through the House, and then to the House, or you have it start at the House and go to the Senate, and then eventually they agree, and then they create a bill, and the president signs off on it, and then it's into law. And at that point, it's very difficult to undo that stuff, And so there's there's a lot of times in history now where both sides have controlled the trifecta of government, and I think people right now are probably the most upset with the red team because they have utilized this to their advantage to be able to get through what they need to get through. All good, it's just the way the government works. And so maybe the blue team in the past hasn't been as hardcore about stuff, hey, all good, it is what it is. Or maybe they have been. So you can look at it either way you want to look at it, so, and, so what's happened now is that, with the battle for 2028, typically what happens is that whenever there's a trifecta, historically, I think, except maybe 3 or 4 times in history, the other opposing side ends up taking the House back. It's almost like the cycle of government. So what's happened now is the red team has worked really hard to try to, make sure that they're able to maintain the advantage going into the next election. Yep, it is what it is. And I think the blue team would do the same thing as well. And like I said, there's only been historically and statistically, whenever there is a trifecta, the other team usually, most of the time, ends up unseating the trifecta. So there we are. And so in Virginia, they were working very hard at, trying to come up with a new map for our state's representation. So right now we have probably one of the fairest maps in the country. It mimics pretty close to what the mix of voters are. So we're very purple, everybody knows this. And we have a total of 11 districts, and so 6 of the districts belong to the Democrats and 5 belong to the Republicans. You know, so, and there's times where Republicans are in control. It's with a trifecta. Right now, the Dems, the blue team, is in control with their trifecta. You know, so the goal is everybody wants to hang on to this as long as possible, but most of the time it's on the line every couple years or so. And so the thing is, out here in Virginia, we have a state constitution, as most states do. And the state constitution talks about how redistricting can be done, and it's with the goal of trying not to concentrate power. So the blue team wanted to come out with a new map to try to make things fairer coming up going forward. And the new map was 10-1, so 10 Democrat districts and 1 Republican district. And like I said, we have a representative government, and the way that the map was drawn, it was maybe not representative of the folks in the district. You know, all good. It is what it is. You know, and so here we go. They decide that they want to push a 10-1 map with the blue team getting 10 districts. They put it to a vote, and it barely passed, like barely. And it immediately went through the courts, and it got you know, stayed where they couldn't implement the map. Then eventually went up to the Supreme Court in the state, and the state Supreme Court for Virginia struck it down. I think there's 7 people on the court, 4-3. You know, and so they did a last-minute emergency appeal to the U.S. Supreme Court. The U.S. Supreme Court, in a short period of time, issued a one-sentence, what is it called? A one-sentence judgment, or whatever you want to call it. And they said, nope, we're not going to hear it, see it. It stays at the state level. And so at this point now, there is the Dems have lost their push. And I think they said it's somewhere between $10 million that the state blew up in order to try to get this thing on the ballot. And then there was like another $70 or $80 million that the blue team put into this initiative. And so what the state Supreme Court said, hey, you know, what you guys did is unconstitutional. We got rules on redistricting, and you guys skipped them all. And so because of that, you know, hey, it's unconstitutional. It won't go forward. They didn't say you could never do it again. They just said, based upon the procedure you guys went through to do this, it did not follow the state's constitution. And, you know, regardless of the people voting for it or not voting for it, it doesn't make a difference. The way you guys went about it does not follow the Constitution. And so this is the thing, you know, and if you're here, well, it doesn't even make a difference, because there's so many people that live here that are bent out of shape about the whole thing. I know there's other Supreme Court stuff that's happened recently also as well that's kind of adding fuel to the fire. And, you know, all good. Brother gets it, you know, but I think the main thing that people are upset about is that, here's the thing. If you look at it based upon the rule of law, you know, because we have excuse me. I didn't see anything. All right. Yeah. We have a constitutional republic, which means that we have a constitution that leads us as the rule of law, and we have representatives that we put in a place to represent us in our best interest, you know, and you know, and part of that is, you know, basically following the rules. So the way it's being pushed now, you know, folks that obviously are against it are very, very happy that it failed. And they're also very ecstatic that the rule of law was upheld, meaning that the Constitution says something and everything was followed. So all good. And then the other folks on the opposing team, very few of them, the majority of folks are saying, you know, hey, this is wrong. You know, it's an overreach of government, not overreach of government, but overreach of the judicial system. People voted for this, and we should give them what they voted for. You know, and that's where the whole one side of the, hang on a second, let me get through this. All right, we're good. So that's where the whole lopsided issue comes for the presentation, is by saying that, you know, folks voted for it. It's kind of like, I remember there was a book when I was in college. It was about how to lie with statistics. So you can get statistics, you can turn around and kind of lie with them. All good, people do that all the time. It's just part of the world. It's up to us to do a deep dive and figure out what's true and what's not. You know, if you don't do it, then you can easily be led. You gotta kind of take some time and do some due diligence and figure out who you can trust. And so the folks now, like I said, they are pretty much in a position of saying that, you know, folks voted for this and it got illegally turned over. You know, we need to turn around and, you know, change. There's been discussions. I think there was an article before that came out, and somebody in a meeting kind of said, hey, there was this one article that came out that was kind of crazy, talking about how we should reduce the mandatory retirement age to 52 or 54 for all the justices in Virginia, reappoint all new ones, and then come back in and push the maps through and then get them in there because we have our own people. And of course, everybody on the red team is sided with this story, and as if it's true. So like I said, it happens on both sides. And in reality, you know, it doesn't appear that that's an idea that the blue team currently has. It's been kind of adopted by media and the news and all that, and it's been kind of assigned to them. It happens, it's what goes on. And so, like I said, here we are right now. Let me get up here real quick. So here we are right now. We have gotten to the point where, you know, there's a ton of misinformation that's out here about the referendum. You know, the judicial process happened regardless of what happened with the vote. And, you know, bottom line, it was a procedural thing. They even outlined it in the decision that they had. And there's nothing wrong with doing what they wanted to do, the blue team. You know, I'm not going to support it one way or another. But the thing that they can do, they can still go back and do it. And it's a longer process to be able to get it done. And then it's going to probably get upset by the time they get it into play for 2030 when they do the new census. So they got to decide if it's worth it or not. But as it stands right now, it's failed to pass. And so what's the lesson here? You know, during these volatile times, you have to really take the time to read and research. And actually, if you just take if you don't know what's going on, you can just say, hey, Gemini on Google, just say, hey, what happened with redistricting in Virginia and why didn't it pass? It'll tell you. It'll tell you exactly what happened, the procedural issues, and what went down, and why it was not found to be constitutional. And so when you hear everybody else, you know, start a battle cry based on half-truths, you have to be careful that you're not being manipulated. That's one of the worst things in the world, to be manipulated. I don't think anybody ever wants to be manipulated. And when you find out that you are and have been, it's not a good feeling at all. And I tell you, that happens in anything. If you're manipulated by your parents or by your kids or by your employer or friends or somebody you meet on the streets, you know, somebody you're dating, it's not a good feeling at all. And so we all have to not be so trusting of things that we have, and just realize that Gemini is your friend. So if you really want to know what's going on and what the truth is, all good. Just type in a simple question, ask the question a couple different ways, read the response, and I tell you, I pretty much trust what it says because of some of the expert stuff I've typed in and asked for its thoughts and opinion on, and it gave me a very accurate answer. So, you know, hey, you know, like I said, hopefully the blue team is able to figure it out here and come up with a more cohesive way of providing benefits to the people. If not, you know, these things will keep happening over and over and over. And then everything that comes out as a result will be a reactionary versus being something that is, you know, knee-jerk. And I've always said this many, many times, you know, and I think I've used this example before. When it comes to the playbooks for NFL teams, those are like a protected asset. If you get terminated from a team, you got to turn your playbook in. And it's like almost near illegal and, you know, criminal charges almost if you get a hold of another team's playbook, you know. But the red team has been very open about what they want to do and what their agenda has always been, and they have different projects along the way. I've always said, hey, all the people on the blue team needs to do is just drop the whole gigantic project into ChatGPT or Gemini or, you know, Claude, whatever it might be, and say, hey, what are some basic things that we can do to counteract this and provide benefits to our constituents? And then have it build a roadmap and follow it. And I definitely think you'll be successful in doing that. But, you know, like I said, it's not up to me to tell people what to do. And I even sent my daughter the other day. She just finished with school, so she's now a junior officially. And I asked Gemini, it might have been ChatGPT. I said, hey, I'm a junior at a state college in Southern California, and I named which specific one it was, so I'm not gonna say that right now. And I was like, I want to become a cinematographer. What should I be doing in these next 2 years to ensure that I can achieve my goal? And it gave a detailed plan of everything to do in your junior year, everything to do in your senior year, things not to do. It wrote it all out. It gave a 100% game plan on what needs to be done. And I sent my daughter the link. I said, hey, you know, like we've talked about before, these next 2 years are about you getting a job, and this is what AI says you should be doing in the next couple of years. You know, so this tool is available to everybody. If you're at work, you're dealing with people that are opponents, you're having problems with them, you can always drop in those issues and ask for help, and it would give you definitely a roadmap. And I think even out here in Virginia, there's a local person that's in the media, he did a Freedom of Information Act request for, I think his name is Danny Mullo, I forget his last name, but he's the mayor of Richmond, Virginia. And he requested all of his chat history with ChatGPT, and the city provided it all. And he was asking for help when we had our water crisis, when there was local shootings, and he asked for help writing the speeches and all that. And he rolled all this stuff out. So like I said, these are tools that everybody right now should be using if they're not. And you know, I hope that you know, there's a better product that is produced. So I'll just leave it at that. So like I said, everything has been struck down, and the blue team can try it again, but they're gonna have to just, play the long game to try to be able to make it work legally. So all good. So what's the last topic we're talking about today? What is it? Last topic is, Dr. Cheyenne Bryan. So let's talk about that. So who is Dr. Cheyenne Bryan? So she's very well known in the black community right now. I think she's a foundational Black American, and she has a very gritty approach to giving advice to women, all that stuff. When it comes to some of the foolishness that people get involved in, all good. It's what folks do. And she has held herself out as having a doctoral degree and other degrees also as well. I think she says she has 6 degrees, like 3 master's degrees and 3 PhDs, and the thing is, there's no proof of any of this stuff at all. And being a doctor is a significant part of her persona. Like I said, all this is just my opinion, and do your own research, but she has been on different shows now, like The Breakfast Club, etc., and she's been very combative towards, providing proof. And I think she talked about one of her schools she went to, which was Agassiz. It went out of business, and she says her transcripts are no longer available, for her to be able to prove any of this stuff. All good. It is what it is. So the internet's going to do what the internet does, which is doing, and and so what's the lesson here? And so this is the thing. If you go and this is the thing right now. So let me start here. I had a conversation with one of my boys not too long ago when Trump got into office for his second term, just before when he got voted in. I said, hey, at this point, brace for impact. Everybody needs to brace for impact, because a lot of the things that people have been able to do before in the past, fraud, cheating, whatever it might be, that stuff is all going to be coming to an end really fast. And folks that have been grifting and that have been, riding on the system, all that stuff is going to crash, and you're going to see it happen. And I'll tell you, I have seen it happen in many, many cases, stuff that's public and stuff that's private. And I think also too, if you remember when Cat Williams went on Shannon Sharp's show, and he spilled the beans about all the stuff that was happening in the music industry, entertainment industry. He's like, you know what, at this point, he's like, he even said himself, you're gonna start to see stuff fall apart, and accountability is something that has to happen. And so not too long after that, we saw what happened with Diddy, and there's been a whole bunch of other examples of, stuff, on all spectrums of nationalities that have happened, but we all know the big one is Diddy, and so we're at a point right now where folks are being held accountable for what they say and what they do and who they are. And there's so many examples now of stuff happening that is not true, that's partially true, and there's people that are holding themselves out there to have credentials and degrees and things like that that have nothing at all. They are all frauds, and so how do you protect yourself? At this point right now, you have to be, you're gonna have to do your own due diligence when it comes to almost everything. And And so when you hear information, you know, you're gonna, even with me, you know, when I'm talking these videos, I make a few mistakes here and there, and I try to correct them down with a little pop-up text, you know, but don't go by everything that I say either. Do your own due diligence and, you know, look into my background and all that. Everything I do is available. It's all available for folks to see, you know, and I'm not here trying to, you know, I mean, I'm not here trying to be a grifter, and, I provide a valuable service that I charge my clients for, and they generally get more of a benefit from my help than I get from the fee that they pay. So things are slightly out of balance, but, you know, you got to kind of look at things kind of in a similar way. So here we are with the doctor. Like I said, as people have tried to fact check her, there's no proof that she's a doctor. She's standing, double down, triple downs, ensuring that she is, you know, all good. And so how do you go about, so this is the thing. How do you go about, and I know there's even one other person too. He's actually on the Young Turks network. He has got like 900 degrees. I think it's like maybe more realistically 14. He's got degrees in all kinds of stuff, all different types of subjects, multiple PhDs, you know, and when you take in somebody like that, you can look them up on LinkedIn. You can go and this is what I'm trying to get at. How do you determine if somebody is legitimate or not? Be skeptical. Be 100% skeptical of who they are. And what I found is folks now that, and I even know people right now, just in real life, that are overstating what they do and who they are, you know, and it's all, and they get a lot of love for these types of things as well. But how do you know if somebody's being truthful or not? Okay, so for me, I have 3 degrees. I've got an AA degree in business from Ohlone College. I've got a bachelor's degree, triple major, finance, marketing, and accounting. And then I have an MBA in management science, I think is what it is. And so after a point, I'm done. I'm like, I'm cool. I don't need to do anything else. Everything that I need right now in my life, I've gotten from my basic training for my degree. I don't really need to go back and get another master's degree or another advanced degree. There's no need for me to be able to do that. The skills and network that I have is what has put me to where they are. And so folks that are behind in life, you got to look at, you know, if you ever get a chance to go look at their LinkedIn, you got to look at where they went to school at. And so if they've gone to for-profit colleges, or they have exotic colleges that are outside the United States that have awarded them advanced degrees, you know, you have to be exceptionally cautious of those folks. You know, so folks that typically go to community college or a state school or a known private school that doesn't advertise on TV for students, you can definitely be a lot more insured by that. And then there's also a number of folks now that get PhDs from other organizations, and they don't have any other education at all. And, or they have a very, very sketchy work history, or they have a history of looking at and starting like multiple businesses that they're all the CEO of. You know, you just got to be very, very cautious and careful. And most people that have, and even right now, I don't even talk about my education at all. Nobody even cares about it. I have nothing to prove to anybody at all. My clients that come to me, they're like, hey, I got this problem, can you solve it? Yes. How much is it gonna cost? This much. How soon can you do it? This is the timeline. Okay, what forms of payment do you take? And so You know, you just have to be very, very careful and cautious in these times right now when it comes to trusting people that hold themselves out to be accelerated experts. Look into their backgrounds. A lot of these guys are running scams, and you know, everything that Dr. Bryant does, she's helped a lot of people. She doesn't need to have a doctoral degree to be able to do what she's done, life coaching and all that stuff as well. And so you just have to kind of make sure that whatever people say they have, that it's legitimate. And if you yourself, and I'll tell you, the other day, my wife mentioned something to me, and she said, hey, blah, 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 blah. I said, oh, okay, cool. Let me look. And so really within like 5 minutes, I was like, okay, baby, this is what's going on with this. This is this is who they are. This is where they stand. This is what they're about. And if I take a look at this information, I can see this. I can look at this information. I can see that. And she's like, oh, that's not something I necessarily want to do or be involved in. I said, yeah, okay, cool. It is what it is. I said, hey, go forward in the process, you know, listen to it, and then you can make a decision on what you want to do. You know, but at least you have the base information. You know it doesn't fit you overall. And I want to, as I close out here, I want to let you guys know that there's a lot of ladies out here right now that do not have father figures, uncle figures, big brothers that are reliable. And if you have a circle of people that are around you, and you know a lot of stuff, it's your duty to at least keep an eye out for them and be able to provide them with help and assistance in times where it can make a big difference in their life. And I tell you, I do that now for my daughter, you know, coming up for air on telling her about different stuff. And I also do it for other members in my family also as well. Just, you know, mention things and tell them this is what we can do. This is how it can make it happen. Because, you know, they may not have anybody else that they can rely upon and, you know, be trustworthy with. So, like I said, if you're unsure, pause, stop, do some research. And if you can't validate it, push back and move on and keep it going. So that's it, guys. I appreciate you, as always, listening to my CycleCast. I'm out of here, and we done. And I'll see you guys when I get back in about 4 days. Peace. In my life. Oh, shit. Okay. My brother fell. This is black ice. Okay. All right, I'm okay. All systems check. All right, I'm good. So let me just penguin it.